listen, I'm going to turn this over to you guys right now. I want to take one more caller that's been holding. We'll go to Elka and Bill and others if you guys want to after. But Josh, thanks for holding from Oregon. You're on the air.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, awesome. Hey, so I've got a comment about the hurricane, but real quick, can I give you a little bit of information about General Kelly?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So General Kelly actually endorsed the critical infrastructure designation by Jay Johnson. It was only in one article that I saw, and that was FCW.
Hold over. This is too big, Josh. You've been holding. Critical infrastructure designation for the elections allowed them to federalize it deep state once Trump was elected because they were planning an overthrow in a new emergency election. This is what they do in third world countries. We're going to come back to Josh. I didn't know this. Give us the source during the break. I believe you. This is big breaking news because if that's the case, it shows a real mole's gotten in because he's positioning the overthrow of the president and then already endorsed the COG transfer, which Kelly will be acting president during that emergency, just like Alexander Haig tried to do, saying, I'm now in charge, I'm now in command. Stay with us. I'm Alex Jones. This is InfoWar.
I'm joined by Jedi Knight Jack Posobiec. We're going to get back to our caller, Josh, who had a story on General Kelly and some potential collusion with the feds to try to perhaps rig the election. It's okay when Obama says it. Trump's not allowed to say it, though. So let's get back to our caller, Josh. Do we have the story that he was talking about ready to go? Let's go back to Josh, and I'll have the crew pull up that story. So, Josh, what did you discover with this story, and what do you think the angle is here that Kelly was using?
Well, I know, Trump right now, he's surrounded by mainly, Democrats and generals, which is, kind of unfortunate in some ways. And we all know that McMaster is a, deep state operative, basically. But with Kelly, I've kind of been on the fence with him. But I found this article from June 6th, and it was the only article I saw that even mentioned this. But I'm just going to quote from the article here. It says, Kelly told the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee on June 6th that despite pushback he's received from state and local election officials, as well as, quote, many members of Congress, he would support the designation put in place by predecessor Jay Johnson. So I thought that was pretty shocking when I read that.
Well, I'd like to read it for myself if we could have the crew pull it up here, because and we'll get Posobiec's take on this too, because, I mean, it sounds to me like it's just a thing where General Kelly is just kind of going along with what's already been there, and he just decided not to take up this fight. We'll try to get more information on this. In fact, if you guys could actually just print me this story. Jack, what's your first reaction to this?
Just going back to what I saw in terms of the original Department of Homeland Security, Jay Johnson, when he ruled on this is, number one, I agree with you. So Kelly did not spend enough time at the department to really dig into these issues, to really get into what was going on. So the first thing he did, he was obviously making a lot of choices on southern border wall, making a lot of decisions there. That was the focus on border security on the south. This other stuff that was going on, he didn't really change what was happening in with Department of Homeland Security policy. But at the same time, this ruling that Johnson is putting out, it lays the groundwork from a legal perspective for them to come in from the Department of Homeland Security and essentially federalize our voting systems. Now, the voting systems back in 2012, you and I talked about this almost every day when I would come on the show. We talked about how easy it is to manipulate these electronic voting machines.
Right.
And now they're trying to take that vulnerability and turn it around and say, oh, no, it's the Russians who are attacking the machines based on like some blanket, statement that somebody made somewhere, and they then federalize it. Well, if you're federalizing this electronic voting process, that opens up so many opportunities for disenfranchisement, so many opportunities for just shenanigans that are going on.
And it takes the power away from the states to monitor their own elections.
Yeah, we need to be going the opposite direction with this. The EU, as socialist as the EU is, they tried electronic voting and totally did away with it. They went back to the paper ballots. They said, you know what? There's too much at stake here. There's way too much to get rid of it.
It's ridiculous. Like you said, I mean, there's all these reports. We've been talking about this. It's simple. It's obvious. It's common sense. Yes, this is an electronic machine. It can be hacked. And then you have all these hackers showing how they can do it, all these different news corporations showing you how they can do it. But I agree with, I think we're both kind of at the same consensus here where it looks like Kelly just chose not to fight this battle probably just left it there. We know what the Department of Homeland Security's goal was to try to do with this thing. We know what Jay Johnson was trying to do with this thing. And I'm not sitting here glorifying Kelly or anything. I don't like the fact that he's trying to control information getting to Trump. I'm just trying to call it as I see it. But real quick, and then I want to go back to Josh with his thoughts on this, and then we'll move on to other callers. Because he mentioned McMaster and Kelly. I found it very interesting. Sebastian Gorka, who is no longer in Trump's White House administration, actually spoke highly of McMaster just the other day in an interview with Michael Savage. He, in fact, even said McMaster was a patriot. So I don't know if he's just blowing smoke there, but I just wanted to point that out. I thought that was interesting. And then you also have to mention the fact that Trump has been nothing but high praises of General Kelly. In fact, I even think today Trump tweeted again the high praises for General Kelly. So I'm just putting that out there. But let's go back to Josh. Final comments, Josh. So what do you think the angle here is? What do you think about this story that you discovered?
Well, yeah, I mean, for sure. You know, you've got people, you know, playing, you know, with all the jokes about 4D chess and stuff. It's real, though. I mean, that stuff goes on. You know, there's some serious, you know, thinking that has to go on, and people can't just, you know, broadcast what they're planning on doing all the time. But definitely one quote that he said that definitely concerned me is he said, quote, "We're here to help." And it just reminded me of Ronald Reagan and his famous quote about the government when they're, you know, coming to help.
Yeah, the 3 words you don't want to hear, "I'm from the government," or whatever it is, yeah.
I'm here to help.
Yeah, exactly. But,
all right.
I just think it's funny that, oh, sorry.
Well, no, I was going to say thank you for the call. I'm reading the story now, and I could definitely see, I mean, when you actually read the story, it is a lot more alarming than when you step back and try to look at it from a farther perspective. But again, you got to understand sometimes, I don't know about this Chase Gunter from FCW. I'm not too familiar with him. I don't know if Jack is. But, you know, when you write stories like this, you can pick and choose words to try to paint a different picture than may be entirely accurate. So, again, I don't know if this is something that Kelly is really fully behind, as this interview kind of alludes to, or if this is just an instance of Kelly just kind of going along with it, because as said in the article, it was supported by Congress. Oh, wow, shocker, the deep state Congress. And it was something that Jay Johnson was already pushing for. And so he just kind of said, okay, yeah, we're just going to go along with it. Is that technically him doubling down as quoted in this article? I don't know if that's fair to say. What do you think, Jack?
You know, Owen, I wanted to comment on what you said about how the president essentially was you know, praising General Kelly, and Gorka had come out and said McMaster is a patriot. And I would agree with them. I would definitely agree that they are patriots and they are looking to serve their country. However, what people need to understand is under Barack Obama, the General Corps and the Admiral Corps of the Army, the Marines, and the Navy, it was uplifted. The people were promoted through the War College system that only agreed with the Obama agenda, okay? They were taught a certain perspective on how to look at the world, and it was the globalist perspective. So when you were writing your dissertation at the War College, when you were writing your papers, you were doing your research, it all had to include sort of those same buzzwords, the climate change, migration, you know, ISIS isn't really Islamic, all of these different agreements that you had to go along with, and that's how you got higher up and higher up in rank. So to say that they're not patriots, that wouldn't be true. They're patriots, but they view the world greatly differently. They view America's role as being sort of like the spread arms wide blanket of security for the entire globe. And everything that goes on in the world is the purview of the United States. You know, the world police, when is sort of like the phrase that a lot of people use satirically, but that is kind of what it's like. They view America's role as stabilization for Asia Pacific, for Middle East, for Europe, for Russia, for all of this. And when anything goes wrong or anything changes in that system, they then want to push back and get back to the system we had before and think that it's America's responsibility to do so, right? Even if it doesn't directly affect American interests.
Well, and I was actually, many people don't know this, but the national anthem that we sing is only like 20% of the song. It's only one verse of the song. There's actually another verse in the song that says, where there are enemies of freedom, we feel it's our duty to go there and to spread freedom, to manifest freedom around the planet. So maybe that's kind of what you're talking about. I mean, I'm not a warmonger. I'm not an expansionist. I'm just talking about history here.
I'll even throw you another red pill on the anthem. If you go back even further, one of the earlier drafts of that song that Francis Scott Key had written actually was in response to the Barbary Pirates Wars. You know, the Marines, they talk about Halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, right? The fighting in Tripoli. So one of the earlier drafts of the national anthem actually included lines about turbans and the crescent moon, because that's who the Barbary Pirates were. It was the Ottoman Empire. It was Muslims.
There you go. Couple history red pills. Talking national anthem with Jack Posobiec. Right? I love it. And I just want to say, and then let's go to another caller here, Jack. After reading this story, I just completed it. Another thing crops into my head. This is how my brain works. So Secretary Kelly, I take brain force from Infowars.com. So Secretary Kelly, the story says doubles down. Basically, he supports it, and he says, yeah, okay, we're going to support this. We want to consider this critical infrastructure. We think this is the right thing to do, and we're here to protect voting, basically. So this is so funny to me. If Russia hacked our election, as the narrative they like to put out there, if Russia was trying to infiltrate these voting machines and all of this was going on, well, then why hasn't the Department of Homeland Security made a statement? Why hasn't the Department of Homeland Security that designated this critical infrastructure, why haven't they done an investigation? Where's their reporting? All we have...
Are you trying to use reason and critical thinking to talk about what's going on at the Department of Homeland Security? Or, Owen, what is going on here?
You're right. I think I should just take Debbie Wasserman Schultz's word for it.
Yeah, don't you know, these aren't the servers you're looking for. Move along.
Yeah. What server that I'm beating with a hammer? What are you talking about? There's no server here.
Don't worry about these Blackberries. Don't worry about this bleach bit.
What IT aide that worked for dozens of Democrats and made millions of dollars that was trying to leave the country and send money to Pakistan? What IT aide? Give me a break. It was Russia. It was Russia.